Welcome to the Savory Scoop. So, today's episode is very special to us because we have an amazing woman co hosting this episode with me and Debbie. She is Rajni Singh, and today our topic is around our fear of bulking with lifting weights. So, Rajni is a perfect co host to be part of this episode because she is a certified nutritionist, an online fitness coach, NHS practice manager, and former Miss Great Britain fourth runner up. She's co author of Embracing Me. She has won the TC18 Online Transformation Challenge among 13,000 challengers. She is thriving as a health coach, and she is my personal coach. She's also a motivational speaker. She is mastering calisthenics at 43, inspiring wellness through nutrition and exercise. Welcome, Rajni. We are so excited to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you got into lifting weights after you turned 40, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Um, I was someone just like many other women. I was into cardio. I was training from age, I would say 20, but I was one of them just doing classes after classes from Zumba to body combat, but always afraid to lift weights because as far as I remember, I used to think that that is something that it's for men because if I start doing it, I'm gonna look like a man. And moreover, I think I'm coming from that culture where I've not seen many women in going into bodybuilding, and this was something not conditioned in my mind as well that this is something for women. And from a very young age, sports has been very, very close to my heart. You know, I've always admired um, women athletes having that strong strength, having that athletic body, and thinking that that's not something for me because coming from the Asian background, it's not something that, because maybe because of all the misconceptions that because of our genes, because of our lifestyle, because of whatever reason, this is not achievable. So for the longest time, I thought that this is not something for me, but I've always aspired to have that toned body, to have that strength, to have that, I would say the agility. But I would say I would probably would take you, which I call as my darkest phase of my life, that after my marriage, just like any other woman, I feel that I lost my true self. There was a phase where I had a lot of health issues. I've suffered with PCOS from a very young age, but having physical health issues, I suffered with sciatica. I've got herniated disc in my neck, my lower back, piriformis syndrome. At the age of, I think I was about 31, my doctors told me that I suffer with osteopenia. So I've got bones at the age of 31, bones of a woman of 50 years old. So, and shoulder impingement. I had, so you name it, I had everything. And then all those physical health issues, it really impacted my mental health to the extent that I absolutely felt miserable about myself, about everything around me. So that was the time that I was on a quest to see if there was more to life because every day waking up in pain, um, the felt absolutely worthless, I would say, in pain. I did not like anything, and I could see that was all affecting my relationships around, especially with my children, my husband. Depression was kicking in, anxiety was on the peak. But I think somewhere because maybe I would say the universe heard my prayer. So just thanks to social media, I would say that I was just scrolling one day and I watched some amazing transformation of some Asian women, homemakers, and not celebrities or anything, very normal women. And I was struck in awe to see that. I said, oh my God. And that was my true calling. I said, if they can do it, what is it that's holding me back? I have got, with God's grace, I don't have no physical disabilities, just a mental block that I've got. And that's it. Watching those women inspired me, and I took that first step, and there has been no going back since that time.
That's so inspirational. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's
And
just, yeah. Yeah,
go
yeah, go
ahead,
ahead,
go ahead.
Simi.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I am so glad you mentioned like scrolling through social media and finding inspiration because that's how I found you. I
Yeah.
was scrolling through social media, sort of experiencing like perimenopausal symptoms. And then I came across you, and then like something about your energy, your vitality, your strength, all of that, like just like struck me. And then like I believe in like when there's an inspiration, I think God puts it in you. And
Yeah.
immediately I reached out to you through the DM, and then you responded back. And then I didn't even think twice. I signed up with you for like 3 months. It was a game changer for me. And I can relate to the whole um, the sadness and the feeling of not excited to wake up in the morning, right? This was like in 2023, and I shared this in like a couple of other episodes with Debbie, where out of like nowhere, I just woke up and I started to feel really gloomy, and nothing had changed in my life, but like just wasn't feeling right. And I was doing like HIIT training and jogging, and all of that was good, but something shifted where I wasn't motivated to do things. And then when I approached you and you got me on this protocol of lifting, I also had the same exact notion that, oh, but I don't want to bulk up. Like, I don't want to look like a guy. But obviously, like, you do enough research and then you see women doing strength training without steroids and they don't necessarily bulk up. That was, and for me, I think at that point, it was not even about physical. It was more like I just wanted to feel good in my body, and I wasn't feeling that. So I got to a point where it didn't even matter even if I did bulk up. So I kind of let go of all of that and then joined your program. Next thing you know, within a month, I started to feel different in my head. I felt emotionally stable. I woke up feeling completely different. Like I was actually excited about the day. And that hasn't changed because I haven't stopped doing that since then. I feel amazing, even though my life is extremely busy. The other thing I wanted to also share was that when with the first reel that I saw you in social media, you said that you have a job where you sit all day. So you work full time, you are a mom, you have a family, and you still make time for this. So how do you do that? And that was inspiring to
That,
me.
oh, no, that's a great question, I think, because I get to see a lot of women having that excuse that life's busy, right? Life will always be busy. So I do have a day job, then I do have my online coaching as well, and I live in a joint family as well. So I do live with my in-laws. So my and that cultural need, that all the duties of a homemaker. But through this fitness journey, which has taught me how to manage your time well. And before I can see the productivity has gone maybe I think 4 times what I used to do before, because most of the time for me it was all about, I think the mentality or the scope of your thinking was just around kitchen, food, family, but I was not prepared to see beyond that. But after through this fitness journey, because you have to do meal prep, and especially when I was doing all these competitions and challenges, you have to meal prep, you have to have your priorities added on to all other priorities. But I think it's all about managing your time, and this journey is only teaching me discipline, how to value your energy, your time, and you have to go by the clock, because if there's no schedule for tomorrow, you will be in a mess. So you have to have a schedule for everything, how your tomorrow is going to should look like, and then you just go by that. And I think this process is only teaching me to value my time and my energy, if that makes sense.
That's wonderful advice. I have this saying that a lot of the times people say, I don't have time. But to me, that means it's not a priority. So when we
Yes.
prioritize things, we make the time. And I think that's such a
Absolutely.
key thing that you're saying too, is we have so many tools these days, going back to like social media and being able to be inspired by so many things and having access to so much research and tools and people who are doing things, it shows us and plants a seed that yes, we can do that too. But also we also have all of these great tools with our phones. I set reminders, alarms, events for everything, and that really helps me to organize my mind and my life. I think that's very important.
You've nailed it there, Debbie, because if it's not a priority, it will never be on your priority list.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
I think when you know your why, because I always tell, especially Asian women, that when it comes to hospitality, when it comes to your uninvited guests, you go all in
Yeah.
to look after them. Everything comes to one side, and you go all in to do that. So again, it's the priority. If it's not even number top 5 of your priorities, it will never be. So if you don't see it that way, it'll never happen.
And we treat ourselves much worse than we treat other people,
Yeah,
don't we? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So we must be gentle with ourselves and prioritize
Yeah,
our health, mental well-being. And I know that working out and doing yoga and lifting weights for me has really helped, especially in the stage that we're in right now, Simi, this perimenopausal stage.
yeah,
It really helps to flush the hormones, even if you're getting out and going for a walk or connecting with nature, grounding. Like for me, that really, really helps. I do love lifting weights as well. I'm one of those who I don't particularly feel very comfortable in a gym setting, in a box gym setting where there's a lot of people. It's a little bit
yeah.
outside of my comfort zone. I will do it. I'll pop in some, AirPods and put some spiritual music on that's a little bit more upbeat. And then I arrive into my own world. So I've gotten some weights at home and I work out at home. I put my music on, I dance, I lift weights, I do a full body workout, and yeah, that works for me. And I feel so much better. And I like to do it first thing in the morning because it really sets my day. But I know, Simi,
The
you
whole
work
day.
out at night, right?
So it's interesting. So I used to work out in the mornings in my 20s and early 30s. And when I say workout, cardio, we're talking strictly cardio back in the days.
Yeah.
And then because I wanted to get it, because the kids were so little, so I wanted to get it done before they even woke up in the morning. And then eventually it started, I started going in the evenings because I got into martial arts and kickboxing, like those type of classes were pretty trendy and we follow trend, right? So I did the same thing and I joined those classes and it was great. I will say that definitely did up my game from just like jogging every single day because it was more endurance training. It was a lot more. We did use weights in between to strengthen our bodies. I wouldn't say it was structured weightlifting. And then at some point, my job got so busy that I wouldn't leave work till like 7:30, 8 p.m. So then for like a couple of weeks, and this is after I joined with you, Rajni. So I used to go right after work and sometimes I get to the gym at 7, 7:30. And I've had friends ask me like, how do you go this late? And my answer is so that I wake up happy in the morning
That's
because
That's
beautiful.
it.
that's what I look forward to. And then when work got even busier, where I was staying later, I realized something about myself that I am a creature of routine, which is not a bad thing necessarily. But I also realized I have to be flexible, kind of flow
Yeah.
with what is happening in life. So then, even though consistently for like almost 6, 7 months, I was working out in the evening, I switched it to morning. And I started this affirmation in the morning saying, give to yourself first before you start giving to the world. And that again helped me to like wake up in the morning, early morning. We have a community gym. So if I can't make it all the way to the gym that I actually paid to get fit, I'll just go to the community gym, do what I can with the weights that they do have, which is pretty amazing. You think you have to pay money to get fit, but that's not necessarily true either,
Yeah.
which I'm learning now. So I think for me now I am more flexible. I sort of look at my schedule and I don't necessarily try to be too rigid. But I like how both of you talked about like that self criticism that comes up, right? I used to compare myself a lot. And that's where you end up sort of feeling like you're not doing enough or you're not enough or you just kind of give up.
I
So
think
has that been your kind of journey as well, like noticing all of that?
I think it's important
See,
not to
okay.
compare yourself to people. I used
Yeah.
to do that as well until, I came to the realization and the revelation that we're all so different, and I talk about this all of the time with nutrition is it's not one diet fits all. It's not one workout program fits all. We're not all going to have the same legs, the same abs, the same arms. And it's all about just embracing yourself and loving yourself exactly the way you are, and of course wanting to improve and doing whatever we can. But that's where, we can get into a very negative cycles when we compare ourselves to other people. So I realized I'm never going to be like this athletic, muscular woman. My body is just not built like that. So I embrace my curves and I tone and I get fit and I'm happy with that. So I think that's really
For
important.
me, yeah, no, that's a very valid point. For me, for the longest time, I think I was lacking confidence because of that, because I was constantly comparing myself with others, and I've always um, looked down upon myself, thinking that I'm not good enough. I cannot do it. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, that was all holding me back for the longest of time. And it's only through my fitness journey that is really helped me connect with my inner self, truly embrace me for with all my weaknesses, with all my strengths, and understanding that okay, there is no such thing as perfect. And
Yeah.
since I've parted myself from that thing, the perfect thing, I think it's liberating me in a whole different way. I'm really you know, I'm so glad I can say that I'm finding my true me, if that makes sense. And that's only when you stop comparing yourself with others and actually embracing your uniqueness. Because the day you realize and understand that everyone is unique and everyone is gifted with something, and that's the day it's like it's gonna be you're gonna be on a journey of self-discovery, and that's an amazing thing to do if you ever are on that journey.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a beautiful thing. It's so transformational.
It is
It
truly.
really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So, have you, Rajni, had times where when you started this journey where you completely fell off the plan and nutrition, exercise? Have you had those moments? And if you did, how did you get back on? Like, what do you tell yourself?
See, one thing I want to clarify, that there is no such thing to be motivated every single day. Okay, it's just the consistency and the discipline. And I do have those days where I do want to indulge into more like the the foods that are high in calories, or I do want to indulge, and it's a natural feeling. But what happens, or there are days when I don't want to do it, but I think the journey is only teaching me just get up and show up for yourself. Even if it's not 100%, it'll never be 100%, but whatever it is, just get up and show up for yourself. And there are days where 1 day or 2 days I feel like, okay, I'm going to have all the crap food that I do. And honestly, one day I have it, it doesn't agree with my gut. I feel absolutely awful about myself. And then the next day it's just the resetting, and then all you need is just a reset. You do those things, it makes you realize all the incredible things that you've been doing, all the hard work thing that you've been doing, because it's not easy, right? But yes, it's all worth it. That's the conclusion I would say, that okay, after the days that when I feel absolutely off, I remind myself that I've come a long way. I cannot one negative thought derail all the progress that I'm making. And there will be days, but yes, just show up for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We all have those days or those setbacks. For me, I have food allergies, so I have to avoid certain foods. But there are times where, my husband laughs at me or my family laughs at me because, like, a cheat day or when I eat something that doesn't 100% agree with me is actually something that's healthy for other people. And
Yeah.
then, I feel, I don't feel so great the next day, but then I just say, that's okay. You forgive, you let go, you say, okay, I remember why I don't do that so often, but it's okay. I'm human. I'm going to get back up and start over again. It's not like a complete setback, and you don't have to be so hard on yourself. It's okay.
Absolutely. And I think that's key also for me, not comparing today with yesterday. And I think like comparison is so important to notice that when it comes up, whether it's with other people, whether it's with yourself when you were 25, whether it is, the day before what you did, and just focusing on the moment and,
Yeah.
asking ourselves, like, what does Simi need right now? What will make her feel good right now? and and I don't mean emotionally, I mean from a well-being perspective, because emotions can be tricky when we try to suppress the emotion or run away from the emotion. What feels good in the moment is not necessarily great for our well-being. So like understanding the difference, all of that sort of go hand in hand for me. um,
No, that's
and
true.
I think, yeah, and you both touched upon like earlier, like this ideal body. So is that something when clients come to you, actually both of you, Debbie, you're share nutrition, and from a health and fitness perspective, Rajni, when you get clients, do they typically come to you and say, hey, I want to look like you, or I want to be really skinny and toned? Or do they say, I want to feel strong? Like, what's the typical, client?
I honestly, a lot of women, they come and tell me, I wish I could look like you. And then the first thing I always say, no, you don't need to. You need to
Mm,
look your best. And
mm,
your best, you will see when you give your best. So you don't know what best awaits you, right? So you need to find your uniqueness, your best version. And yes, some women definitely, they come for building more strength, but deep down I think, and it's very natural, that it starts with to look a certain way, that aesthetic look that we are looking for. The journey always starts mostly with that. And in my case as well, I always wanted to have six-pack abs, or I wanted to have a chiseled toned body. But it begun with that, but now it's all leading to building more strength, the inner and the mental strength and the outer strength. So yes, a lot of women that come with that, but then once they start getting into weight training, and when they come back to me and tell me, oh, wow, the breathing techniques that I teach, the muscle mind connection, they were not doing any of that. They were training mindlessly. So that's where that transformative journey starts from there. That, okay, it's not just about losing weight or to look skinny. It's about actually to be your stronger version.
Yeah. My clients usually come to me when they have health problems and they need to change their diet and make a huge lifestyle change. And a lot of the times they, are overweight, or they're dealing with a specific health concern and they have food allergies. They're not eating properly for their unique self, and they'd like to learn how to create a sustainable lifestyle. Find the foods that are not their happy foods, find the foods that are their happy foods, and be able to learn how to create their own unique, practices and lifestyle. And I think it's important to say that nutrition plays a huge part in being
Absolutely.
strong mentally and physically, and we're all so different. So, like I said before, it's not one diet fits all, as you said, but there are some key things, the building blocks that we all need, healthy fats, proteins, carbohydrates and whatever complex carbohydrates, whatever those are going to be for you uniquely, it's going to be different for everybody. You know, we can sort of have a guideline, but with me, I just really do a very deep assessment on every level with people, just to find out, you know, what their goals are, what they need to tonify and balance in the body, and then just create that whole easy, simple daily lifestyle that they can do. That's not going to be, you know, it's going to be easy to follow and that they can sustain for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. And, you know, growing up, when I used to think of someone who is 50 or 60, I had this idea of like someone really fragile, frail, and not really athletic. And I am just amazed by, and I'm sure they existed, but we didn't have social media to like see everyone in the world.
Yeah.
But now I'm so grateful because now you see 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s doing things that people in their 20s are doing, which is absolutely inspiring, because that just reminds me that life doesn't end as soon as you turn 40 or 50, right? To be excited about the next so many decades of our lives.
You can start on that time, like this. You can change your mind. You can stop an unhealthy pattern, and you can start a new one just by snapping at any moment, anytime.
The other day, actually, funny enough, Simi, I'm just gonna touch upon what you said about the 70s and the 80s. There was a lady actually came up to me in the gym, and she goes, "Oh, you know," she was talking about when I was doing handstands and stuff. She goes, "Where do you see yourself now? I mean, what next for you?" And I said, "I haven't even started." I said, I look at women, and who inspires me is I've just on social media saw a 92-year-old woman, a gymnast. I said, I wish that is what I aspire to be. So I've just started. So again, age is just a number. It's all in your head. And you can start anytime, anytime. All you have to do is just start.
That's it. Yeah.
I agree. And this is why I do want to surround myself with women with this type of mindset. Because that's so important, who you're with, right? Who you're spending the most amount of your time with. And I'm very similar to you, Rajni, in the sense I love the whole athletic, like feeling strong in my body. Ever since I was a kid. I mean, I love dancing too, but then there was always this part of me that used to play like basketball with the guys, even though I wasn't good at it. Like it was just in my nature. Like I just connected with that side of me.
That was me.
Yeah, like all my friends were mostly guys, you know, and I enjoyed that. So, and then as I got older, my kids started taking martial arts, Kung Fu. And I watched them and I'm like, this would be fun to do with them, right? Like to do something together so we can practice together. So they would take the kids class, and then right after that, they would watch me take the adult class, and they would just sit there and then like joke around, you know, watch me doing weird things. And then I still remember this was like my early 30s. They get you to do push-ups for your warm-up, right? I couldn't do one push-up. I was on my knees and I'm like watching all these kids going up and down like the whole time. And then even grown-ups, like people older than me doing push-ups, I couldn't do one, but I stuck with it. And I think it was like maybe 6 or 7 months later, I did my first push-up with my knee up in plank position. And it was like the most exciting moment of my life.
Thing. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Absolutely can relate, because I think it's the excitement again, isn't it? And as we age, we start losing that excitement. And excitement is in very simple things, but something that's very close to your heart. It could be anything. I always tell everyone, you got to have that passion. It doesn't necessarily needs to be sports, but something that excites you. And that's it. The moment you find it, the happiness, you will never part from happiness.
Oh yeah, it's so important to create
and I specifically would say inner happiness.
Yeah, happiness, absolutely. It's all about cultivating that inner self connection with yourself, like you were talking about before. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
meeting yourself where you're at, Simi, right? You have to just meet yourself
Yes.
where you're at with no judgment, and
yeah.
just love yourself. And then when you do get to that point where you could do that push up with that knee up, then you're like, wow, look how far I've come. Good job. Giving myself a hug here. That's amazing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And interesting thing is like I was I would say I weighed less back then when I was in my cardio phase of my life, but I couldn't do one push up, which was interesting to me because I was younger back then. So you would think, okay, I have more muscle, I should be able to do it, right? Or I should have more core strength, so I should be able to do it. And it's so much later, it was like probably mid 40s, I started to read up on all of these things saying, oh, after 30, you start to lose your muscle mass, which
Yeah,
as you age, it gets worse and worse and worse if you're not building muscles to prevent us from like, falling and hurting
absolutely.
ourselves. And
The strengthening
so,
bone, like you were saying, Rajni.
mhm.
No, no, carry on. I was
I'm
just
sorry.
saying, yes,
Go ahead.
absolutely,
Go
he's
ahead.
right.
Yes. Go ahead, Simi.
Yeah, yeah. So now I focus just pretty much on showing up at least 3 to 4 times a week to the gym to do my strength training, if nothing else. And I decided I used to love Bollywood dancing and then I stopped. I have no idea why. And one day, some song came on TV, and I got up and started dancing. My husband's like, you used to dance. Why don't you do that anymore? I'm like, I don't know. I should. It's fun, right? So then I joined a dance class, and I am having the best time of my life. So that kind of works your body in differently. And you come back and you're like, I'm actually feeling things that I haven't felt in a while because it's a different form of cardio. So mixing it up is also fun for me, doing different things and trying different things.
Yeah, and dancing.
Yeah, you got to keep it fun. You
You
have to
have
keep it
to.
because if it's boring, you won't feel that excitement. So you have to keep it fun, and trying different things is only going to give it's going to help you build strength in many ways.
Yeah, for sure. Dancing is also such a great form of expression. And like you said, it's something you're passionate about. A lot of the times we stop doing the things we're passionate about. It's important to do those things to really stay connected with yourself and be happy. I love dancing around the living room. Actually, recently, unfortunately, I was over a girlfriend's house. We had a beautiful girls' day, spent the day at the beach, floated in the ocean, came back. We were listening to music, and a song came on, and she has hard travertine floors. And I started dancing around and jumping around, and I hurt and injured my psoas muscle. So my psoas muscle was protecting my hips because I'm getting older now. So I was like, oh, so I actually have had this psoas pain for over a month now. So I've been having to adapt my workouts and do stretching. And I've been seeing a friend of mine who's been helping me to release that and then doing some yoga moves and slowly I have been, I finally feel like in the past couple of days it's starting to get better. So that's been a little bit of a setback for me. Yeah. So I'm excited to be feeling better now and I'm starting to be able to work out again and do, yoga like I enjoy doing yoga and walk a little bit better than I have been walking. Sometimes it's these things that just happen out of nowhere. You never know if something is just going to happen like this that sets
Absolutely.
you back, but it's just being
Yeah.
positive and doing all of those things
Mhm.
that you can to replenish and get yourself back on your feet so you can get back
Yes,
where you were, and just meeting yourself where you're at. Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
tells how recovery is so important as well, right? Sometimes,
absolutely.
because it can happen in an instant moment, and that's where sciatica and all those things that came in my life. But yes, recovery, and there's a process. Sometimes people don't understand that for recovery as well, there's a proper process for it. You need to slow down and follow the process. So yeah, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you shared that, Debbie, because we often think we look at people who may seem like they have it all together as if they
Yeah,
don't have any challenges or struggles. But we're all human. And I think we're all going through our own personal challenges, and we all have our seasons. And it really comes down to how we choose to perceive that challenge, and meeting yourself where you're at with a lot of compassion, yet also find empowerment, right, in that phase.
For sure.
Yeah.
no, true. Life will
Yeah.
happen. I always tell that life will happen and life is hard, but we all have to just choose our hard.
That's right.
And the
Absolutely.
real
Yeah.
growth is outside your comfort zone. And I'm absolutely
Correct.
loving that process.
That's the thing I always think, and I tell people, when they come to me and we just talk about these sorts of things, it's like, always remind yourself, it's like, I can do hard things. And that's empowering in itself, just saying those words to yourself.
I love that. So
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, Rajni. So you got into lifting weights. What made you get into calisthenics now? Something different, or was there a
Oh, wow.
specific?
That's a very interesting question, actually. No, actually, I had zero mobility, zero flexibility up until age 39, or I would say 40 before I started weight training. So I've never practiced yoga in my life before. And having that anxious personality, dealing with a lot of anxiety in the past. So I just wanted to slow down, but I did not know. I did not know the tools. I've tried meditation, I've tried yoga, but nothing helped me because the thoughts were always, it was just I couldn't let go of those anxious thoughts. So calisthenics, yes, weight training helped me build that muscle mind connection, but mind was
Mhm.
always still wandering off. And as I said, that I've always aspired to, when I used to see gymnasts doing those cool stuff, I was always like gobsmacked at how I wish I could, but I can't, because that's not something that this is, I used to believe that I this is not something I could do. But then I tried, the courage. Then I started with headstands, um, and I realized that process of from headstands to handstands to learning calisthenics, because it's a pure body weight training, intense body weight training, and you cannot perform any of those moves if your mind is even for a split second somewhere else. So I would say the most credit to when I started learning to do a handstand. And with that, having herniated neck, sciatica. So I have to be so cautious under proper guidance. So I had a coach that, helped me. So I had to be extra careful. But and imagine the kind of failures I would face every single day. But that is the only journey that has helped me control my anxious thoughts, my anxiety, because anxiety creeps in and now and then, because that's something, it's life. We are human beings, especially with me. My emotions are always, I'm a warrior from a very young age. So that the journey of this calisthenics, the body weight training, is teaching me how to control my thoughts. So I would, when I started practicing handstand in a busy gym, because that's where my coach used to be, and imagine in a busy gym, you can't even kick up on the wall. You look like a fool, you think that you're making a fool out of yourself. But I was so determined that I'm gonna learn it. I've had like proper professionals boxing just behind me when I'm performing my handstands, early stages I'm talking about. But that process really taught me how to block everything. There will be kids, young kids, doing some other sports just behind me, literally a foot distance behind me. But that only helped me focus, literally, block everything around me and just how to focus and build that muscle mind connection. And that is what calisthenics is teaching me. And I'm absolutely loving the process because, as I said, this is the process that's really bringing me closer to myself. the self-love, what it really means, what it really means to nurture yourself, what it really means to really recognizing and identifying your strengths. So yeah, so calisthenics is more like it's been a life-changing event for me. Absolutely. I absolutely jump out of my bed, do all the chores that I have to do, all the work job, day job, whatever I have to do, just to look forward to when I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna spend an hour and a half. I'm gonna try different things. And don't that progress is so slow. It's like nothing. But sometimes the days you feel like, oh my God, I'm not even progressing. There's no progress, but there is. Then it takes you back. No, but I've come a long way. I couldn't even do that. And so that is really um, helping me having that reality check, but that at the same time, I feel very proud of myself as well that, okay, the journey has been difficult, but it's teaching me persistence and helping me not worry too much about future, not diving into my past, just in the moment, that mindfulness. And that's where now I'm learning yoga as well, because yoga is very much foundation of calisthenics.
Yeah.
And now I understand. And now I see yoga from a different angle, that yoga is not just about stretching. You were thinking about something else. People have asked me so many times, why don't you have headphones when you're training? I said, no, I can't, because I have to have that connection deep inside, that what I'm doing, my mind, my soul, my body has to be all connected to perform a certain move. And I'm absolutely in love with that process.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. I love everything about that.
That's so
Yeah,
inspiring.
no, it's just I think it's teaching me, and I tell others as well, it's so important to have personal goals. And
Yeah.
I think that's where anxiety, depression, or mental health they start taking over our life, because we forget that life is so much more than that. Personal growth, there is nothing more precious than personal growth, and it's so important to give little small goals on a daily basis. And that's how I'm going to take you back to where I lacked confidence, that that self-love, it doesn't come in a day. It took me 3 years to where I am today. And it's the daily trust you build with yourself, that, okay, if once a voice telling you deep down you can't do it, but then you conquer that small challenge, and then that's how you start building your trust with yourself.
100%.
I did want to also kind of circle back to the bulking question. I know the fear probably comes from watching bodybuilding competition, but from your experience, when you lift heavy, is there a chance to bulk? Because I've started lifting heavy and I'm not
Yeah.
seeing, have you seen anything like that? Like when people lift heavy weights?
I think there's a lot of misconception or misunderstanding around it. So that's a different sport when we talk about bodybuilding, okay? So fitness has got so many sports. So there's powerlifting, there's bodybuilding. Some people, they just want to build their strength. So when we talk about bodybuilders, that's their sport. There's a whole different process to look like that. And there is no chance they can look like that throughout the year. It's only that they're competing for the competition, and that's why they have to follow certain process. They got to be on a certain diet and all that stuff. But for a normal person, when you're not, even with the bodybuilders as well, when they're not competing, they look very normal. So it's just for the competitions they have to do it. And yes, for women, we don't have that much of level of testosterone where we're going to start looking manly. Our bodies are not meant to be like that. And again, it all depends on your nutrition. If you lift heavy, it's only going to build your muscle mass, but it doesn't increase the size of it just like that. It takes years and years, and that's purely for bodybuilders. They have a different certain goal in their mind. But for a normal weight training, which I've realized and I've experienced, and I'm so confident that if that's not your goal, which most of the women, they don't have it, normal weightlifting and lifting heavy is something that's going to help you build muscle mass and lose body fat percent. If you are within the comfort zone, it's nothing is going to happen. Progressive overloading is very, very critical and crucial if you want to drop or shed body fat and, want to have that toned, I wouldn't say chiseled, but yes, that toned look. Uh, the process is absolutely different from what the bodybuilders would do. I hope that makes sense.
Completely makes sense. I've been doing it for a year, and it's interesting when we often come into something thinking we're going to achieve something in 2 months. But if you have a personality type like I do, I am one of those people who will follow the protocol, but I'm also in that bucket of, well, how do I feel today? And let me do this instead because that's what's best for me. So I like to experiment. I like to take the feedback from everyone that has done amazing things, and then I kind of like make it my own. Like, how can
Yeah.
I optimize it for my well-being? And what I learned over time is, um, if we can sort of trust ourselves in the journey to know that, yes, the first year just might be an experimentation
Oh, yeah.
process where you're getting into it and you're learning all these guidelines. And if you've never touched weights, like if you've never done it in your life, and if you've never been athletic, the first 6 months is probably just figuring out how to do
Figuring
this,
out.
right?
It's
Unless
very
like a personal.
Yeah, it's very important to have the right guidance. Let's just say that right now for people who have
Yeah.
worked out, it's important to have the right form and to balance all the muscles. My husband used to own a fitness studio. He's been a personal trainer for over 25 years, and I hear that him talk about this so often, especially, with women or young kids who start to work out, is they may be focusing on the wrong parts of the body and getting it
Absolutely.
balanced or working one muscle out too much. So it's very important to have professional help when you're starting out, and then you may not
Yeah.
need it once you learn your body, and you
No,
can figure out
I
what works
totally
better.
agree with you, Debbie, here, because weight training, especially when people ask me, how do you do it with sciatica? How do you do it with all those, I still have those problems. But again, practicing on mobility, having the right form and technique, and Simi can share her experience as well, that it's so crucial because when you want to progress on, when you start lifting, it's not about, there should have been no ego lifting. The form, even if you have to start with 1 kg dumbbell, you start focus on your form and technique. And then, because that is the point where you're laying that strong foundation. If foundation is weak, that's it. Then you are putting yourself at risk of sustaining injuries. So form and technique is very, very important.
And I think the other thing that I used to think was, if you have to have everything lined up to start lifting, like if I don't have the nutrition dialed down, I shouldn't lift because then I'll get bigger. And it's so interesting that even I came across someone who's in the medical field telling me, I started lifting, but I stopped because I started to notice my shirts were fitting different. And this is a woman. And she's like, I just stopped. I don't want to do that anymore. And I think when we don't dial in on the nutrition and we start lifting, yes, of course, you're going to feel like things are a little bit tighter in your body, in your shoulders, because you've never touched weights before. But even if we, at least this is my experience I'm sharing, even if you can't dial it down and or get the nutrition perfect, keep going. Keep going, because in the long run, I 100% believe it is only going to help us. Because the nutrition, yes, it may be something that takes time, right? There's so much to talk about when it comes to nutrition. We can talk about willpower, we can talk about genetics, but going to the gym and trusting the process of lifting weights to I think you said use this word, recomposition of your body,
Recomposition.
right,
Yeah.
Rajni?
Yes.
Yeah, and trusting that process. Yeah, it may take longer. And
Yes.
I started to meet women who necessarily don't, eat less calories. they actually eat, and this is after I started the journey of lifting, they actually eat, you know, a pretty good amount of calories, and but they've been lifting all their, like, for like the last 10 years, that they have,
Yes.
their body just has transformed where they've lost fat. But it's trusting that journey is what I'm learning.
Absolutely. I
Like
think it's the knowledge. I would say
Mhm.
knowledge, because there is so much information out there that people don't have trust in simplicity, because they want to follow whatever is trending out there. So it's a simple. I know so many women that they feel that, okay, they've just started weight training and they look bulky. No, weight training, muscles take years to build, years to build. But here, if they don't dial into the right nutrition, because you cannot out train diet when you're training, you got to make sure your calorie intake, your, if there is deficit or if there is a slight surplus, because when people think that they are training or they're weight training, they are in a situation where they can actually can eat more, but that's not the case. That is not the case. So that's where they stop building, or probably their body fat percent starts going up, because that's a very fast process to gain body fat. But muscle growth is such a slow process. It takes time. So there is a knowledge and process that goes into it. And again, I'm going to go back to that guidance to be it throughout my fitness journey. The only thing, because I had been there not long ago, only I would say just over 3 years ago, I was someone who was just looking out, trying different things, keto diet, into so many, you name it, I've tried it. But the conclusion was I had to go back to the basics. Simple, basic things. The more you simplify your nutrition and training, the more you simplify other aspects of your life. But you got
I'm
to
on the same
trust
page
and
with you.
simplify the process.
Absolutely. Simplifying. I talk about that all the time. It's like
Yeah,
getting back to the basics. Eat whole foods,
absolutely.
avoid the
Yeah,
ultra processed foods,
yeah,
avoid the refined foods, the refined sugars, and just eat whole, good, wholesome, clean, organic foods. And that's as
no,
simple as it gets.
absolutely.
It doesn't have to be
Yes.
complicated. Yeah. And that does complement working out. What is that saying? I always get mixed up the numbers, but it's like they say it's 80 to 90% nutrition, 20%, working out, something
Yeah.
like that. There's that saying
Yes,
out
it's
there.
70 to 80% nutrition, and
Right.
the rest is your training. But yeah, nutrition plays, and people don't focus enough. And that's why it's not the notion that women think that that muscles just build like that in months. I think that is where I think they need to, and again, knowledge is power. The knowledge is power. You got to give yourself that fair chance to empower yourself with the right knowledge, and trust the process. That's what I have to say here.
And the mind body connection, like you were saying, is so
Oh yes,
incredibly important. Changing your thoughts, changing your
yes.
words, speaking to different
I
parts of your body, breathing in
yes,
to different parts of your body
absolutely.
as you're
Yeah.
working out the muscle, oxygenating, breathing into the muscle, connecting with it. And that all goes back to
True.
forming that very deep sense of self connection.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, Simi, funny, if there was a client I spoke to this morning, and she's done amazing progress. She's made amazing progress in the past 2 weeks. She recently signed up with my program, and she's lost over 1 kg each week, which is an amazing progress. And she was like, she was not happy about that. And that's where I think people need to understand there are no quick fixes.
No.
It's a lifestyle change. If you want to go on a
Mhm.
crash diet, it's a different thing. But if you really want to understand the process, you got to give yourself that fair chance, and your body and your mind, because it's a process. If it's taken that long to put on that weight, it's going to take at least half of that time you got to give yourself to get back on track. So
100%.
patience and that understanding.
I agree 100%. And I think it's the best investment I have made. The two of the best investments that I have made is one, to get my yoga teacher certification, because you think it is to teach others, but you end up doing so much for yourself. And initially I was like, oh, I love yoga and I want to share yoga, but what it has given me is like incredible. And then I came across you, Rajni, and I'm like, something told me this is going to be a great investment for the rest of your life. When you gave me the protocol, once I got the foundation, obviously my husband helped me because he used to train when Bally's was around way back in the days. So he helped me with the initial process. He would come with me to the gym. And funny enough, my kids are all into lifting weights since like, I want to say once they turned like 17, 18, they all wanted to look like Hugh Jackman, the Wolverine. That was their goal. So they were eating like a lot of food, hitting the gym like 5 or 6 days a week, lifting weights. So my oldest also came with me to show me how the leg days, like how to do the leg workout, because they're so good at it. So it turned into a family event initially because I was learning how to do it. But then you shared all the videos that I could watch, even if they were not with me. And then I would share the videos with you. And then you would tell me, oh, when you're doing the barbell squat, make sure your feet are a little bit out, sticking out as opposed to like parallel. So like little things like that, the adjustments, like the best thing I've learned. So now I just know what I need to do without hurting myself. And I'm excited because one of my friends joined you also recently.
Yes.
And yeah, I hope that's going well. I
No, it
haven't
is.
talked to
It is.
her. Okay. I texted her the other day and I said, it's leg day. Well, what are you doing today? And she's like, oh, I made it to the gym this morning. So yeah, so it's kind of exciting to have that too, to have
No,
a friend.
again, and I think you've nailed it there, because this is what I was doing. I was trying to save money in the past, that, oh my God, I don't need to pay anybody. I can figure it out. I can figure it out. And that figuring out didn't get me anywhere. I've been going to the gym for as long as I remember, but I just looked the same. So the only thing that I realized, that, okay, if you don't know, and you don't need to know, you can't know everything, right? If you don't know, just approach the right person. And be in my any journey, public speaking, pageant, body lift building, calisthenics. I have never had. Now I said, okay, I'm going to pay the right person. I'm going to have a coach for accountability reasons and for knowledge as well. So it's very, very important to actually, as you said, invest in the right way. I'd rather not have a designer bag, but I'd rather invest into having a good coach where I know that where it's going to lead me to.
100% agree with you.
Absolutely. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, Rajni, how do they get in touch with you?
So my Insta handle, I'm quite actually active on Instagram. So it's Rajni.Singh_official. I've got my website as well, which is rajnihealthandfitness.com. And I am available on, mainly I do it from Instagram. So I'm quite active on that. So all my clients, they contact me by email or DM.
Nice. And you live in UK. I forgot to say that. We had completely different time zones, and it was still like you were available like anytime I needed you. Like I had some issues like GI issues, like literally the week I started training with you and I messaged you and you're like, don't worry, just eat some lentils and rice and like take it easy this week. And that encouragement, like you always showed up for me, and I'm so grateful to you for that. You are the first actually guest on the Savory Scoop, and as soon as I thought of guests, I'm like, I have to have her. Actually, we did have April Brader. I'm sorry, but when we started doing the StreamYard, this format,
Yeah.
I was like, I have to reach out to her because you don't have to come to the house. We can do this virtually. And you've changed my life, literally, when I was going through perimenopause. And it was a really uncomfortable, challenging time in my life. And like I said in the beginning, I have not felt that way since I started lifting weights. And that's just my personal story. So thank you so much for being with us. Debbie, do you have any more questions? I feel
No,
good.
I'm so grateful
Everything you shared.
to have met you. Thank you so much for joining us, Rajni.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's been a pleasure, and yeah, it's been great to be on this show and sharing and listening to your journeys as well. Because you never know, it's all about just connecting and inspiring each other and getting inspired as well. Because each of us, we've got a unique story, but yeah, so it's all about just inspiring each other.
Thank you. And when we end the episode, we usually leave some sort of inspirational note. Um, who would like to start? So I can share something that I typically tell myself, which is give to yourself before you start giving to others.
I will have to say, believe in yourself, because for the longest time I did not do it, and I was so much seeking validations from others. So no, it all starts from within, and believe in yourself.
100%. And be gentle on yourself and meet yourself where you're at with love and compassion.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, Rajni. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
If you'd like to connect with Rajni, we'll have her details listed below. If you have any comments, suggestions of topics you'd like to hear, please let us know. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can find us at The Savory Scoop. We look forward to seeing you next time.